give a quick demo today on the software platform called Power BI. It's basically a data visualization tool. So it's similar to Tableau, but I found that it's a new Microsoft product. Not a lot of people really know exactly how to use it. So I'm going to give you some examples. So this is the desktop version that I am using right here. So I'm going to just show you some basic features today. I'm going to grab a data set that shows the prevalence of tuberculosis across the world, and we're going to turn it into some cool things. So the first thing you do when you open up a file is you click on Get Data. Then you have to select, what kind of data source it is. So right now we'll start simple and we'll just use an Excel file. So I'm going to click on tuberculosis burden by country, and it's making a connection to that data set. So I'm going to grab the main tab here that I want, and as you can see, this just kind of comes back from an Excel data set. So now we're going to kind of walk through it step by step. So basically what you have here is all different data fields, all different sorts of health statistics that are talking really about tuberculosis. So what I'm going to do, step one, is I'm going to go over and click into the data. And you can see my first column here is territory or country name. So what I'm going to do is actually tell Power BI that this type of data is not uncategorized, but that it's actually, and that is going to let me put it onto a map. So the next thing you do, you can just go ahead and click one of these visualizations. So I'm going to choose this one that's called a filled map. Expand it, make it a little bit bigger. And then I have to say, well, what data fields do I want? So let's say I'm going to look at all of the countries that I've got. So first up, we get a map of the world. And then I have to kind of see, okay, what are all the different data fields that I care about? So this one's a good one. Estimated incidence of tuberculosis per unit of population. So I'm going to drag that right into the values field. So as you can see now, if you hover over a country, it's going to tell you the average incidence of tuberculosis in that country. I'm going to change the color a little bit to make it easier to see the difference. We're going to go white to black. So you'll really be able to see kind of those regions of the country, of the world, sub-Saharan Africa, that have higher incidences of tuberculosis. Now, a really cool thing about Power BI is it lets you look at data from a variety of different lenses. So now I'm going to click year. And so I've made a graph, which isn't super useful, but I'm going to turn this into a data slicer actually. So I'm going to go ahead and click this slicer button. So now I've got all of the different years that we've captured data for. So now as I click on different years, you can see that the colors behind the map change. So that's one of the cool things about Power BI. And this is a very simple example, but it's allowing me to look at data on different metrics. Now, let's say you want to take this same data and sort of display it in a different way. I'm going to show you how to make sort of a bubble chart out of it. This is a little bit more complicated, but this is one of my favorite features in Power BI. So again, let's just go ahead and click on the fields that we care about. So the detail here is really, what country are we talking about? And let's look at how the incidence of tuberculosis, that column that we were just looking at, compares to the mortality rate the mortality rate, and we're putting them both per 100,000 people. So now you can see, as obviously an increasing incidence of tuberculosis tends to correlate with an increasing death rate from tuberculosis. It's pretty tightly clustered around the bottom left, and it kind of spreads out. So this is cool, but let's add some more stuff onto here. Let's add what I'm going to call, or what Power BI calls, a play axis. So this is actually allowing you to create 4-dimensional data, which is pretty crazy. So now, just like we had the years selected, now we can play out all of the different years on a map. And again, as you pause, I'm going to pause, and you hover over one of the dots, it'll tell you what country you're looking at, what the incidence is, and what the death rate is as well. And now let's say you want to figure out a way to sort of differentiate different countries from each other than kind of hovering over the dots. So now we're going to add in a size metric. So now we're going to just count the total number of deaths from tuberculosis. So you can see countries with more deaths show up as larger dots compared to smaller countries. So now it kind of gives you a sense of not only what is the rate of tuberculosis and death by tuberculosis over time, but also the total aggregate number of people who are dying of tuberculosis in those countries. So this has been just a very quick intro to Power BI, but I will make some more videos as I get more questions. All right, thanks everyone.